Okay, let's spend just a moment talking about this issue we've been going over for some time, national monuments. The new Secretary of the Interior, Zinke, comes out and he looks at some of these monuments and he says he may make a recommendation to reduce the size of 3 of them. 2 of them are in the state of Utah, right? The Grand Staircase and Bears Ears. So we don't have a lot of other details. What are Utahns saying about this? Where are they? What's going to happen?
I think people want answers. I think that people, Secretary Zinke put out this date and he said he's going to tell people exactly what his plan is or what his assessment is for the national monuments. And then he didn't. He was very non-specific. So we have all of these rumors of numbers of how Bears Ears will be reduced. But really, without that definition, I think it leaves us a lot in limbo. I think there's an expectation that this should come sooner rather than later.
So the question is if it's going to be reduced and by how much. Is that where we are now? Or
Yeah, and there have been some quotes from unnamed congressional aides. I haven't specifically spoke to that person, but I do have sources that I've talked to that have a direct line to Secretary Zinke, and they're telling me to expect significant reductions. And some of the numbers they're throwing out, and that's for both Bears Ears and Grand Staircase Escalante. The numbers I've been seeing thrown out, the 160, seem to be pretty consistent with what I've been hearing from sources.
I don't think the question is how much it's going to be reduced. I think the question is whether it will be reduced at all in the long run. Because as soon as there's an announcement, as soon as there's a map that's drawn, the lawsuit is going to be filed, and it's going to be a fascinating issue for those who are interested in executive power and overreach and those kinds of things, because they do talk about President Obama reaching too far with Bears Ears and President Clinton reaching too far with Grand Staircase Escalante. But the Antiquities Act specifically grants the president that authority to declare a monument. The Antiquities Act does not say anything about a president having the authority to rescind or to shrink a monument. And so the people who want this to shrink tend to be the people who want presidents to act within the authority that's granted to them by the Constitution or by Congress. And that contradicts. Those two ideas contradict each other in this sense. Shrinking is not in the congressional authorization.
And so as a consequence, we have the tribes lawyering up, we've got conservation groups lawyering up, we've got all of these business leaders who have built a livelihood around these national monuments, scratching their heads and saying, what's going to happen to my restaurant? What's going to happen to my boutique bed and breakfast? So there's a lot of uncertainty out there. I think the sooner that Zinke weighs in and sort of lays out his plan, the better. Let's get going.
In addition to the lawsuit angle of it, I think there could be a congressional approach too. I think a lot of members of Congress are interested in taking up the Antiquities Act and seeing what they can do about that as well.
Although there might be some ex post facto issues in terms of rescinding, but Congress could shrink. Could decide to shrink it. The other thing, though, is that if you lay this 1.35 million acre Bears Ears map that President Obama drew, if you lay that on top of the map that Rob Bishop's Public Lands Initiative drew for exactly the same area, President Obama essentially traced his map around Rob Bishop's map. Now the protections are different, and the way that they went about it is different. But there's an argument to be made there as well.
Okay, we'll stay. Oh, please go ahead, Jennifer.
Oh, I was just going to say the great irony is that, federal overreach. We hear all this, abuse of power, and yet Utahns love their national parks. They go in droves, go camping and enjoy the public lands. So I don't think that whatever Zinke has to say is going to diminish our love of the land. It's really a matter of control.
And also interesting that the abuse of power is completely based on your political perspective as well.
Yes.
If it was a president of the other party, it was an abuse of power. Yours, not so much, right?
And for your viewers, if they haven't been down there to the Bears Ears region, go to Bluff, go hike on the Comb Ridge. It's the most amazing the solitude with those ancestral Puebloan ruins that you'll ever experience.
Okay, good recommendation. We'll be following this one closely on the Hinckley Report in the following weeks and months. Thank you all for your insightful comments.